If I'm being completely honest with everyone, this whole saga surrounding Chuck Schumer and Democrats hating each other, it might be one of the most pathetic things I've seen in a very long time. I mean, seriously, Chuck Schumer was beloved by Democrats for not just 1 year, no, for years now. But the millisecond he has one bad vote, which you could argue really wasn't that bad of a vote, I mean, the CR package, Democrats were to lose no matter what, because if they voted it down, well, they would be blamed for the shutdown. So it's like, do you really want to risk that? Yeah, if you vote yes, you're going to give Trump a win, but at the same time, you're not going to really have a shutdown. But Democrats are so deranged that they now hate Chuck Schumer because of one bad vote, which again, I've argued it's not even a bad vote. If you were the Democrat Party, it was actually the smart decision. But the way they handled the whole situation made it even worse. It is so bad that now Chuck Schumer is facing growing calls from House Democrats to step down.
We will win. We will win. We will win. We will win.
Which I cannot get over the fact that they now hate Chuck Schumer because of a single bad vote. I mean, guys, we were forced to keep Mitch McConnell for years. Even though everyone hated his guts, no one liked him, we were forced to keep him because the Republican Party, for whatever reason, the establishment, they just love this guy. But Chuck Schumer is perfect for years. But because of one bad vote, that's when Democrats say, no, enough is enough. We gotta throw Chuck Schumer out. So let us get into it. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is facing more calls to step aside than have been previously reported, with the possibility of more to come soon, Axios has learned. No senators have called for Schumer to step down, but outside the Senate, he's enduring a pounding from Democrats who want him to adopt more combative tactics or step aside for someone who will. Representative Delia Ramirez of Illinois asked at a town hall on Tuesday whether Schumer should retire or step down. She nodded her head and said yes. Ramirez's comments have not been previously reported. The liberal group Indivisible has also called on Schumer to resign as leader. Representative Glenn Ivey of Maryland also followed suit at a town hall on Tuesday. One House Democrat asked if more could follow, told Axios, I think there are some already there, but just haven't been asked directly or avoided the question. So, you're talking about at least 3 other Democrats saying, yeah, we're done with Chuck Schumer, we gotta get rid of this guy, he's worthless, and it sounds like there's way more. Which, if that's the case where there's a bunch of Democrats in the House now saying, yeah, we gotta get rid of Chuck Schumer, there's a good chance that he's gone. Because the Democrat Party, when one supports something, usually that's a sign that it's not just one or two, it's usually the vast majority of them, because that's Democrat Party, it's groupthink. One thinks one way, and most of the time, every other Democrat will follow suit. So it's significant that there's a bunch of Democrats now saying, yeah, we're done with Chuck Schumer. 2 of them are public about this. They were asked at a town hall, they said, yeah, it's time for Schumer to go. Schumer incurred the wrath of Democrats in the lower chamber last week by supporting a Republican measure to keep the government from shutting down. All but one House Democrat voted against the bill because it didn't include language constraining DOJ's ability to cut congressionally approved agencies and programs. Which, again, this whole situation with the CR, I honestly have no clue what Democrats were thinking. Guys, a government shutdown is not good for Dems, because the average person would blame you. But at the same time, I kind of get why Democrats are very upset about this, because they were told, at least House Democrats were told just a couple weeks ago, that Senate Democrats were going to hold the line. So Jared Golden, so Henry Cuellar, all these more moderate Democrats, I think actually Golden voted in favor of this. I can't remember who did. But either way, the more moderate Democrats like Perez, they were promised that all the Democrats will hold the line. So you gotta vote no on this. We gotta make sure it doesn't pass at all. And they were promised that. And these are Democrats in Trump seats. We're not talking about D+20 districts. No, we're talking about seats that Trump won back in 2024. And now they voted against Trump's proposal, which theoretically could hurt them come 2026. And that's why Democrats are really mad. They're not just mad about the, no shutdown. They're mad at the fact that Senate Democrats, they promised one thing. They said, we're going to hold the line. We're going to prevent the government from staying open. We're going to shut it down. But 5 seconds later, they bent the knee. But Senate Democrats allowed it to pass, with Schumer arguing that a shutdown would have played into President Trump's hands and allowed him to more swiftly carry out his plans to downsize the federal government, which, that's bullshit. I don't know what Chuck Schumer's talking about. If this was all a part of Trump's grand conspiracy to keep the government shut down, to shrink the size of it, why the hell did he push Republicans to pass the CR? If he really wanted to keep the government shut down, why did he push to keep it open? I call bullshit on what Schumer's saying right here. What actually happened was they got polling that said, oh crap, if we support this shutdown, we allow it to happen, people will blame us. And it gives Trump even more leverage. So now we're desperate. We got to quickly support this package, even though it pisses off our own base. So the way they handled it made it even worse. If they just would have said, screw it, we'll support the CR, we're not going to allow a shutdown, but we're not going to vote in favor of it either. I've got no personal beef with Schumer. I think he's a talented guy, but for me the bigger question is he going to do this again? Ivy told Axios in a phone interview, the Maryland Democrat whose district has one of the largest concentrations of federal workers, pointed to the next government funding deadline in September as a key test for Schumer. And really for both sides it is, because this is going to be the big one. This is going to be the package that really demonstrates to everybody if Trump, Musk, and his administration, if they're really serious about slimming down the size of government. Because in September, they promised us huge cuts. And that's why a bunch of Republicans, they weren't necessarily happy with the bill. Like, yeah, the CR package we got, compared to other ones, it was very clean. I know people like Thomas Massey, they're trying to say, oh, it increased spending by 80%. It didn't. It was actually a clean CR. But at the same time, we're promised that in September, we're going to get a package that brings actual cuts. When this comes back in 6 months, is he going to take the same approach or not? If he's not still on that track, I'm for moving on. And in other words, I think Chuck Schumer's done. I really think Chuck Schumer is done. Now, does this mean he's going to be thrown out by the end of the year? I don't know. But guys, the problem for Schumer and the Democratic Party is they have no leverage. They have none. Because if they shut down the government, according to Chuck Schumer, by the way, Schumer's saying that, oh, if we shut down the government, this gives Trump even more power. It's like, if he's saying that now when he actually believes it, well, more than likely, Schumer theoretically is going to support the CR package or whatever that comes in September, So if he supports it now, there's a good chance he supports it in September. And if that happens, that's when shit's going to hit the fan for real. Because right now, yeah, there's a lot of division within the Democrat Party, but some are still saying, well, at least we didn't pass the big one yet. But if that one actually passes, that's not good for Dems. Because that will be such a massive win for Trump and a complete embarrassment for them because they promised their voters, we're going to shut down the government, we're going to hold the line, we're going to stop the orange man. But if they bend the knee within minutes of saying that, their voters are going to be furious with them. These people are radicals and they want a shutdown. These people want a shutdown. They don't want any cuts of government spending, which is just nuts. I mean, seriously, they're attacking Trump for, and I quote, trying to downsize the federal government. I'm not exaggerating. That's what I actually said right here. They're mad that he's trying to downsize the federal government. Who opposes this, I should say? Anyone with a brain would say, yeah, we should shrink the size of government. I don't know a single person that says, yeah, we got to increase the size of government. We need to do that for whatever reason. There's not a single person on earth that supports that. That's just common sense. Like, why the hell would people support increasing the size of government? Outside of the radicals in the Democrat Party, no one in the real world actually supports this. There was desire for generational change before this. You saw it in our House ranking member elections. In other words, Democrats, they really want change, right? They're saying, oh, we'll wait in 6 months or whatever. No, when they start saying stuff like that, that usually means they're about to throw Schumer off a cliff. They did the same with Biden. First was, oh, We gotta look at what happened with Biden. The debate was pathetic. We gotta see what happens. But then a couple weeks later, they threw Biden off a cliff for Harris. That's what happened. But now it's like they're doing the same thing with Chuck Schumer. Now, to be fair to Schumer, these are just House Democrats. House Democrats, they have no say on Senate leadership. Now, there is a couple of people that do, especially Nancy Pelosi. She is the one Democrat that if she says Schumer's done, he's done. Because she is one of those powerful Democrats still. Hakeem Jeffries, same deal, though Pelosi's still number one. Not officially, but if she says someone's got to go, that person is gone. You're never going to see them ever again. So if Nancy Pelosi bails on Schumer, he's done. I don't see how he survives that. Just for the simple fact that Pelosi, even though she's a House Democrat, has so much influence. I mean, she still has a bunch of influence, which is just crazy. But right now, that's the state of the Democrat Party. They still have people like Pelosi in leadership who is losing sense of reality. She's very old. She's frail. I mean, not as bad as Mitch McConnell, but she's starting to get to that point where, can you really rely on Nancy Pelosi to be there? I mean, seriously, why is she still here? She's not the minority leader. She's not going to be the speaker come 2026 if Democrats win. Why is she still here? Just retire. But people like Pelosi, they still have the power, despite the fact that she's not the official leader. She decides who is gone. So if he loses Nancy Pelosi, which at that point, that'll be a big civil war within the party, because there are still some Democrats that are defending Schumer for this, especially in the Senate. But if Nancy Pelosi tells people that Schumer's got to go, he's gone. They did the same thing with Biden. She told people it's time for Joe to go, and 5 minutes later, he's gone. If she starts talking like that, expect him to be out in a couple of months, if not a couple of years. Again, I'm not saying that he's for sure going to retire by the end of the year. I'm not saying he's not going to run for re-election. But right now, it does seem like there is a movement building to get rid of Schumer. Which, at this point, for Democrats, it's a lose-lose situation. Because if you oust Chuck Schumer, who the hell are you going to replace him with? I mean, Chuck Schumer, he is a very bad person. I think his policies suck. But he was effective. All right, say what you will about the guy. If Biden wanted something passed, he got it through easily. All right, he was very smart. He knew what he was doing. And he was able to pass a lot of things that most majority leaders would have never been able to pass. But you're going to replace that with who? Dick Durbin is like 80. He's going to retire. And some of these other picks, like, I don't know, Amy Klobuchar, do you really want to pick her? If your options are people like Klobuchar or whatever, you're in trouble. You're going to get such a big downgrade that it's not going to go good for Dems at all. But at the same time, Chuck Schumer right now, I think is a liability. Because now the radical base hates him. They hate Chuck Schumer because he voted one time against them, not 50 times, once. For the first time in years, he had one quote-unquote bad vote, which again, it wasn't a bad vote in the grand scheme of things, but these people are so delusional that now they hate Chuck Schumer so much, they want him gone. And they want him replaced with someone like AOC, which it sounds like AOC is gaining momentum for 2028, which is when Chuck Schumer's up. So I have no clue what Democrats are going to do, but hey, they did this to themselves. All they had to do was support the CR and prepare for a fight in September. That's all they had to do, but now they're in a lose-lose situation. No matter what they do, they're going to piss off a big chunk of the base. Or they're going to piss off the vast majority of Americans. So good job, guys. You played yourselves. You have no one to blame but yourselves for this. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.